The letter arrived on a Thursday afternoon, folded so many times the paper felt soft as cloth, and by the time I reached the last line I knew I had waited too long. "Daniel," she wrote, "I am to be married in October." I was 23 when that envelope found me, working the late shift at the tire plant outside our small Kentucky town. The air inside that factory always smelled like hot rubber and oil, and that day the scent turned my stomach. I stepped outside with the letter trembling in my hand, the summer sun sinking low behind the grain silos, and read her name again at the bottom. Evelyn Marie Carter. There are moments in a man's life when he understands, all at once, what pride has cost him. That was mine. I had met Evelyn 5 years earlier, the summer of 1958, at a church picnic by the river. Somebody had strung up paper lanterns that swayed in the breeze, and a local boy with slicked back hair was playing records on a portable turntable balanced on the hood of his father's Chevrolet. When "All I Have to Do Is Dream" floated through the warm evening air, she was standing near the lemonade table, laughing at something her cousin had said. She wore a simple yellow dress and white gloves she kept taking off and putting back on, like she wasn't sure what to do with her hands. I'd seen her before at Miller's gas station when she'd come by with her father, but that night she seemed brighter somehow, like the world had narrowed down to the space around her. I asked her to dance with more courage than I felt. Her hand in mine was cool and steady. She didn't look at the ground like most girls did. She looked straight at me, and that unsettled me in the best way. "You're Daniel Harper," she said. "You work at the station." "Yes, ma'am," I replied, though I wasn't sure why I called her that. She smiled. "Then you know how to fix things." I didn't know then how much that sentence would follow me. We began the way most young couples did in those days, slowly, carefully. Friday nights at the drive-in theater, my father's old pickup parked under a wide Kentucky sky while the movie flickered against the screen and cicadas hummed in the trees. Sunday afternoons walking along the dirt road that curved behind her family's farm. Evenings at Rosie's Diner, sharing a slice of pie and feeding coins into the jukebox. She loved the slow songs. I preferred the fast ones, but I'd let her choose. The first turn came when her father pulled me aside one afternoon. He was a tall man with hands worn rough from decades of work, and he didn't waste words. "What are your intentions?" he asked. It felt like a test I hadn't studied for. I was 20 and earning just enough at the gas station to keep gas in my truck and a few dollars in my pocket. "I care about her," I said. That wasn't my question. In those days, love wasn't considered enough. Stability mattered. A steady job. A plan. That night, Evelyn sat beside me on the tailgate of my truck, fireflies blinking in the fields. I told her about the conversation. "He just wants to know you're serious," she said softly. "I am." "Then show him." I took a job at the tire plant that fall. The hours were long, the pay better. I came home with hands blackened and shoulders aching, but there was a pride in it. I thought that was what being a man required. For a while, things felt steady. We talked about marriage in the quiet way young people do, without setting dates, but with a certainty that tomorrow would look like today. Then came the second turn. A man named Robert Gaines started coming to church that spring. He wore suits that fit better than anything sold in our county, drove a polished blue Buick, and spoke about business ventures in Louisville like they were simple errands. He took an interest in Evelyn's father's farm, offered advice, connections, possibilities. I told myself it didn't bother me. But I noticed how her father listened when Robert spoke. I noticed the way Robert's hand rested confidently at the small of Evelyn's back when they stood in conversation. Jealousy is a quiet thing at first. It seeps in, makes you doubt your own worth. One evening at the diner, I asked her directly, "Do you care for him?" She looked surprised. "He's kind. Ambitious." "That's not what I asked." Her eyes softened. "I care for you." It should have been enough. But pride can twist even simple reassurance. The third turn came when the plant announced temporary layoffs. Orders were down. Half our shift would be cut by summer. My name was on the list. I remember walking home that evening, the gravel crunching under my boots, thinking of her father's question. "What are your intentions?" Intentions don't mean much without income. I didn't tell Evelyn right away. That was my mistake. I told myself I'd find something else first. Spare her the worry. But secrets have a way of surfacing. She heard from someone else at church. When she confronted me, her voice wasn't angry, just hurt. "Why wouldn't you tell me?" "I didn't want you to think I couldn't provide." She took my hands, grease-stained and trembling. "Daniel, I don't need you to be unbreakable. I need you to be honest." But honesty came late that night. Too late to erase the doubt already planted. Robert's business proposal gained traction. He spoke of expanding the farm, of security, of a life that didn't depend on factory whistles. In July, I made a decision that would haunt me. A friend from high school had written from Texas, talking about oil fields and opportunity. "Come down," he said. "There's money to be made." Without asking Evelyn, without telling my parents until the last minute, I packed a suitcase and bought a bus ticket south. I told myself I was doing it for her. The goodbye at the depot was stiff. Not the kind you imagine in stories. "You're leaving without asking me to wait," she said quietly. "I don't want to hold you back." She searched my face like she was looking for something I hadn't said. "Or are you afraid I won't?" I didn't answer. The bus door folded shut with a hiss, and that was how I left. Texas was wide and unforgiving. The oil fields paid well enough, but the work was dangerous and lonely. Nights were spent in boarding houses with men who carried their own regrets in silence. I wrote letters at first, long ones, full of plans and promises. Her replies grew shorter. Then, one September evening, her letter came with the words that stopped my breath. "I can't keep living in a promise," she wrote. "Robert has asked me to marry him." The jealousy I'd once tried to swallow roared back. I told myself she had chosen comfort over love. That she had never truly believed in us. I didn't write back. Instead, I worked harder. Longer hours. Saved money I didn't spend. Pride hardened into something that felt like strength but was closer to stubbornness. Months passed. Then my mother's letter arrived. "Evelyn's wedding is set for October." That was the envelope I held outside the factory when I'd finally come home, job unfinished, pride bruised, too late. Or so I thought. The fourth turn came when I found her standing alone outside Rosie's diner 2 weeks before the wedding, the neon sign humming overhead. She looked thinner. Tired in a way I hadn't seen before. "I thought you'd stay in Texas," she said. "I thought you'd be happy," I replied. She laughed softly, not with humor but with recognition. "Is that what you think this is?" We walked down Main Street as we had 100 times before, past storefronts closing for the night, past the gas station glowing under its single bulb. I said yes because I was tired of waiting, she admitted. Not because I stopped loving you. Those words struck deeper than any accusation. And I left because I thought I had to prove something, I said. Not because I wanted to go. Silence settled between us, heavy and honest. I can't marry him, she whispered finally. Not if my heart is somewhere else. The courage in her voice humbled me. But love isn't just about reclaiming what you lost. It's about changing. Don't call it off for me, I said. Call it off for yourself. She did. The town buzzed for weeks after. Whispers at church. Curious glances at the diner. Robert left before winter. It took time for trust to rebuild between us. Pride doesn't dissolve overnight. I found work at a smaller plant nearby. Nothing glamorous, but steady. I stopped trying to outrun the man I was and began building with what I had. We married in the spring of 1961 under a canopy of dogwood blossoms. No grand gestures. Just vows spoken clear and sure. Life wasn't a straight line after that. There were bills, illnesses, disagreements about where to live and how much to save. But we chose each other again and again. Looking back now, I see how close I came to losing the woman who shaped my life, not because love failed, but because I misunderstood what it required. I thought love meant providing perfectly. She taught me it meant staying honestly. That letter on the factory steps wasn't the end. It was the mirror I needed. The reminder that pride can cost you the very thing you're trying to protect. And when I think of her now, of yellow dresses and jukebox songs, of bus depots and second chances, I understand that love is rarely about grand departures. It's about coming back, humbled, and choosing to remain. Even after all these years, when I catch the faint scent of gasoline on a warm evening or hear an old ballad drifting from a distant radio, I am 19 again, standing under paper lanterns by the river, holding her hand and realizing that some things, if you are brave enough to return to them, can shape a lifetime.